Okay, so yesterday Brian Buffini put out his bold predictions for 2020, and I received several phone calls yesterday and this morning about what do you think? What do you think about what Brian said? And some people got into some specific questions about what he said. So I thought I'd just take a minute and go ahead and put out my opinion of what he said. I really liked when he went to the state of the market that we're at 3.6% unemployment. That's great, that's phenomenal. We're also looking at a 96% consumer confidence rating, and on his scale it was 1 to 100, so extremely high. The key principle, or I guess the key concept I took away from that was that there's never been a full employment recession. And so that gives us some confidence in what's going on in our market. We're going to be going into, according to Brian, the fourth best real estate market in history, with new sales or new construction homes going up to 750,000 and existing homes at 5.56 million. I think that he laid out a really good point on 30-year fixed. In 2018, we were at 4.7, 2019, 3.7, and a projected 3.75. I agree with him in this case that the Fed should hold strong. I don't think that going down to a zero, like some of our European friends, is a great idea. We have nowhere to go. But we have a very hot economy, we have a very robust economy, we have a very active economy. So things are going very well. In the disruptors, I'll jump to there. So Brian talked about disruptors, and he talked about Blockbuster and Netflix and even the travel industry, how it all went online and now it's all coming back. My belief is this, and this belief is just ingrained in me, that you are needed, that real estate agents, skilled real estate agents, and Brian went into the skilled versus not skilled, but very skilled real estate agents are needed, skilled at negotiating. There is a different way to catch the fish. There is a different net out there than we're used to seeing. But the disruptions only make us better. So when we look at disruptors, we look at what's going on in the iBuyer program. Brian actually did the math for us. He had a quote from Barbara Betts, I believe out of Long Beach, California, where Barbara had dialed up an iBuyer platform and asked them to come out and give her an opinion of her home. Had she used the iBuyer platform, she would have lost $173,000 on her $875,000 home. So I think what we need to do is simply understand the models. So you need to learn the models that are out there. You need to understand them, and then you need to be able to explain them and walk a client through them and say, hey, is this really the right thing for you? Do you really need to sell your home tomorrow? And if you do, then we need to be the buyers. So I can tell you right now, with our Associates Investment Group and some of the things that we're running and the teams of financial support that we have, we can pretty much buy any home that comes on the market. We just need a couple days to put the money together and we can pay cash for those homes. So I like that approach of, you know what, just become your own iBuyer and don't worry about this competition. Key focus on this piece was customers. Customer service, customer service, customer service. As many of you know, I come out of the customer service industry before I got into real estate. And let me tell you, it's the utmost important. I mean, it goes like this. The consumer is always right. The consumer is always right, period. Okay, for an agent, the home buyer, the home seller is the consumer. For a brokerage, the agent is your consumer and their customer. So you have double duty. You've got your agent and their consumer. But when you get that out of order, and we'll go into why brokerages are struggling and why brokerages are failing, but when you get that order that the broker is not in tune with their customer, which is the agent, and the agent is not in tune with their customer, which is the client, the consumer, then you're going to have problems. Are we still going to be needed? Absolutely. I love, Mike Ferry came to visit with us and spoke to us a few months ago. One of Mike's comments was very simple. He just said, hey, when my iPad can cut my hair, I'll believe that we don't need real estate agents or realtors on the ground. And I believe that very true. There's only so many things you can do online, but there has to be a face-to-face, belly-to-belly interaction. In 2020, love Brian's advice, shut off the news, shut off the negative. It's so difficult to control, but I can tell you, those of us who went through the recession, that were in the business during the recession, in 2008, 2009, the end of 2008, 2009, I decided I was going to shut off all news channels. I wasn't going to read the paper, I wasn't going to. I limited myself to 1 hour a week. So 1 hour a week, I gave myself to look out there and see what was going on. It was so negative that it was almost paralyzing. So don't be paralyzed with it. I think you need to know what's going on, pay a little bit of attention so you can walk your clients through it. But if it affects you like it affects most of us in a negative way, listening to negative all day, every day about everything, well, then you need to just shut it off and limit yourself to 1 hour a week. I'll get back to that in a little bit. I think that in this model that Brian's talking about, there are non-controllable events, things that are going on that I just can't control. For example, I can't control interest rates. I can't control unemployment. I have to have confidence that our elected leaders and that the folks that are running the country and that the economy, everything that's going on can take care of that. But there are controllables. I can't control the intake of the negative press. I can only look for positive things and read those positive things. Sometimes we just get lost in the negative and then the drama of life. And I personally shut it off for at least a 4-year window where I just wasn't interested. And even today, I probably spend less than 2 or 3 hours a week listening to the negative. Let's see, the next, I guess the next piece that I wanted to talk about was the brokerage. Is your brokerage in the consumer game? Or is your brokerage built a model that is unsustainable? He made a bold prediction in his mid-year, I believe it was, that, and I got the numbers probably wrong, that we'd go from something like 80-some thousand brokerages over a 5-year window down to 15,000. Well, yesterday he just went out and said again, we're going to lose half the brokers in 36 months. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Brokerage models that are opening up and everything is free and the brokerage cannot sustain itself won't be around. So, as an agent, what I would be looking for when I'm looking for a brokerage is not how little can I pay, but what is the financial position of that brokerage? What does the brokerage look like? What are their finances? I'm not talking the franchise. I'm talking the actual broker on the ground in your city, in your state, and saying, hey, what does it look like? When you're looking to join the brokerage, that's what you should be asking. Are you financially stable? You're going to join a brokerage, you're going to go over there, you're going to work really hard so they can go out of business, and then you can go do it all over again. Look for longevity. Look for folks that have been in the market for a while, that have some grit. So those of us who made it through the recession versus those brokers who shut down as the recession got hard, went and got a job doing something else, and now that the market's good again, they're back, and I kept my broker's license because I paid my fees, or I suspended my license, or whatever the case may be for your area. That's ridiculous. Look at their history and see, who am I working for? Because that's going to tell you your long-term success. Nobody wants to change brokerages. Nobody wants to change jobs all the time. Okay? So look at that. And then look at their training plan. Look at what are they going to be doing for me. I'm very confident right now that I can say that in most markets, in this, as good as things are, 90% of the people, 10% of the people are making 90% of the money. And that's just a fact. We know through Pareto's principle that 20% of the people are already making 80%. And I think it's just gotten even, Brian talked about a divide, a bigger divide between the skilled and the non-skilled. Well, the skilled agents, which is really only about 10 or 15% of those agents, are making a whole lot of money. Where are you at? Where do you stand? What does that look like for you? Back on brokerages, while that was going, I sent, we had this broadcast out to 6 of our offices at the same time. And I sent a message out to the brokers in each office that were running, because I wanted to be very clear about our position. And I wrote them this text that just said, message about brokerage profitability. Okay, number 1, we are a cash company with no current loans other than a revolving credit card. Okay, we have no loans. We have other than one credit card. We own our assets. We own all of our assets other than the copy machines. It's not really profitable to own copy machines because the maintenance on them, so we rent those. But everything else in every one of our offices is owned by us. We don't have loans on it. We are profitable. Okay, number 4, our number 1 goal is to help our agents sell more real estate. We are committed to the success of our agents and their clients. Okay, and then the 5th was just a little bit of a teaser that just said, hey, the best is still to come. We are continually developing and deploying to our agents. You won't want to miss our first quarter 2020 first quarter meetings that we have for our agents. That is our goal. Our number 1 goal is to help our agents sell more real estate. So when you look at that and you look at your success and you look at what you're asking for, and somebody's willing to, like Brian said, give it to you for free or pay you to be there, well, I would be leery of that business model because it has no financial, it makes no sense at all. It makes no business sense at all to give it all away and take nothing on the come. If you're working for a big giant conglomerate, a big company, and they're throwing millions and millions and millions, well, go listen to their stock report and see how much money they're really making. When you get into skills, I had an agent, Sid McGill, gave me a call this morning and asked about our skills. And what did he mean by skills? So I'll just answer that question. You know, skills come in a variety of different formats. Number 1, it's your ability to go out and negotiate. That's a skill. Okay. Number 2 is your ability to go out and create your own inventory. That's a skill. Listing your skills. Well, we have tremendous skills coaches in our industry. Okay, we'll start with Brian, who did his broadcast, Brian Buffini. Well, Mike Ferry and Tom Ferry, they're great skills teachers as well. I don't care who you like or dislike, which model you like or you prefer over the other, but you got to go out and get skills. As a brokerage, we run a training program throughout the year. We run it broadcasted out through all of our offices, but we run it in basically 3 different areas, and we try to share in those lessons, I guess, in those skills. We run a mastery program, which I teach myself. I'll actually record the mastery program and put it out here as the year goes on. But we also run, Buffini blitzes. We're just Daryl is finishing up a Buffini blitz in our Salt Lake office. We've run the Mike Ferry training program and Mike Ferry Blitz, and Emily's done a great job with that down in St. George. We've done Tom Ferry. We run our own program, which is Pathways to Performance. We run our own program called Elevate, which is something that I put together over the last 15 years. And then we also have our Momentum program that a Remax owner put together, and we use that. It's important. It's important. You should engage. You should pay attention. If your skills are off and you're missing something, then you need to engage and get back into the training program, and you need to pay attention to what's going on. Here's how training works. It is all over. It is everywhere. It is super easy to get. You can go online, anywhere. You've got to make the first move. You've got to show up. You've got to tune in. You've got to pay attention. I'm a huge fan of consistency. And consistently doing the right things, ultimately you will win. Ultimately you will get what you're after. But you also have to have some guidance. You also have some people around you. You have to have a support network. What I do want to say, as I just kind of wrap this up, is, Brian gave out a statistic that NAR, the National Association of Realtors, the average earnings before tax, or GCI, or income coming into an agent, is $32,000 a year. Okay, I just read a report in our area that a family of 2, so a husband and wife, or however you want to configure that, but a family of 2, if they are below $48,000 a year, they are below the poverty line. Okay, so that's to say, if I'm a single income home as a realtor, on average, I'm going to be living below the poverty line. Well, I just did some quick math on where we're going to end up this year, and I'm happy to say that we're going to end up at $165,000 per agent, which is $133,000 higher than NAR's average. Why? Well, I can tell you why. It's because our brokers care, because we're intimately engaged in your success, because we don't give it away for free. I can guarantee you we're not the cheapest person in town. That's not our purpose. We have to be here to provide for you. So those are my takeaways from Brian's broadcast. I really enjoyed it. There were some other things in there that I won't take the time to go over, but I hope you found this valuable. Stay tuned for our next business building tips. And if you have not, be sure to follow our page, In the Trenches of Real Estate. Thank you.